So we introduce the second speaker, Dr. Edmund Chia, who teaches theology and is Co-director of Interreligious Dialogue at the Australian Catholic University in Melbourne. Dr. Chia will be with us online and he will speak for 15 minutes. Over to you, Dr. Chia.
Good morning, Your Eminences, Your Excellencies, dear brothers and sisters of Asia. It is an honor for me to be appearing before you. As some of the most senior bishops may remember, I served as FABC Secretary for Interreligious Dialogue some 25 years ago. I then left Asia and spent the last 2 decades teaching first in Chicago and then in Melbourne. A lot of my research and writing have been on Asian Christianity and FABC theology. So it is a privilege for me to be exploring the theme of journeying together as peoples of Asia, especially with reference to the topic of dialogue, peace, and reconciliation. We have been asked to focus on the ministry of dialogue. Indeed, the praxis of dialogue differs from what traditional Christianity advocates, enabling us to say of the Asian Church, and they went a different way. My presentation focuses on the key moments of FABC and the Asian Church's journey of dialogue. We can call these watershed moments or important milestones, but I believe they are grace or theological moments. I believe that the lessons from these key moments continue to be relevant for the Asian Church today. So instead of offering any new insights, I will simply remind us of the thinking and wisdom offered by our own Asian bishops and theologians over the years. When Pope John the 23rd convened the council, the Church's relationship with other religions was not initially on the agenda. An encounter with the Holocaust survivor changed that, resulting in the schema on the Jews being drafted. Upon hearing that, bishops from the Middle East and other Muslim majority countries feared that this would be seen as the church siding with Israel in the Arab-Israeli conflict of the 1960s. They asked that a statement of respect for the religion of Islam be included. Hearing this, the bishops from countries where Buddhism and Hinduism are in the majority asked that a similarly positive statement be made about the religions of their compatriots and ancestors. It was these interventions by the Council Fathers, many of whom were Asians, which resulted in Nostra Aetate being a document about the Church's relationship with the religions in general, as can be seen in Article 2 on Buddhism and Hinduism, Article 3 on Islam, both of which precede the originally intentioned statement on Judaism, which is Article 4. While Nostra Aetate paved the way for the Universal Church to engage in interreligious dialogue, it is the Asian Church that most helped in mapping out the trajectories for its implementation. In Nostra Aetate urges Catholics to reject nothing that is true and holy in other religions. The Asian Bishops' Meeting committed the bishops to an open, sincere, and continuing dialogue with our brothers and sisters of the religions of Asia. Father Felix Wilford asserts that the word dialogue best captures the orientation and theology of the Asian bishops. To be sure, the Asian Bishops' Meeting was signaling the birth of the Asian Church, where its vision of dialogue was clearly articulated in the words of Father Arevalo. And now the heirs have found their own voice. They can now speak for themselves. It is now the time of the heirs. The word dialogue was first used in church statements only with Pope Paul VI, 1964 Ecclesiam Suam, where he urged that the church must enter into dialogue with the world in which it lives. When the bishops met for the first FABC assembly in April 1974, dialogue served as its guiding principle. Strategically adopting the theme of the September 1974 Synod of Bishops, which was on evangelization, the theme of the Taipei Assembly was evangelization in modern-day Asia. If Evangelii Nunciandi mentions the word dialogue only once, the FABC one statement mentions dialogue at least a dozen times. Specifically, it proclaims that evangelization in Asia has to involve a dialogue with the great religious traditions of our peoples. FABC 1 not only established dialogue as a new way of being church, it spelled out that it has to be through the triple dialogue. This is how Cardinal Rosales put it. Asia's bishops, reflecting on the situation, history, and needs of the Asian peoples, decidedly assigned to themselves the challenges of the evangelization among the people, namely the triple dialogue. Cardinal Quevedo refers to this as the Asian view of evangelization. Firstly, in view of the many poor in Asia, the church has to be engaged in a dialogue with the peoples of Asia, especially the poor. Secondly, in view of the many cultures of Asia, the church has to be in dialogue with the Asian cultures. Thirdly, in view of Asia being the cradle of ancient major religions, the church has to be in dialogue with the religious traditions of Asia. This is the triple dialogue approach to evangelization. The Asian church is a church of dialogue. With the formation of the Theological Advisory Commission, FABC embarked on deep study of the pastoral issues affecting the church in Asia, producing theses on them. The first of these was on interreligious dialogue, taking the form of 7 theses, all of which have provided guidance to the Asian church in its relations with other religions. These include perceiving other religions as complementing and not in competition with Christianity, considering interreligious dialogue as integral to the church's mission and a demand of the Trinitarian faith, and seeing both dialogue and proclamation as essential to the church's mission of evangelization. Like the BSAS, the BRAS were the most noteworthy forums for bishops to learn about interreligious dialogue. Archbishop Lo Kuang, who chaired the office which first organized them, informed that they were designed to assist the bishops of Asia in discovering and implementing the interreligious aspects of the church's mission in Asia. The first 3 BRAs focused on a single religion in dialogue with the Catholic Church. BRA 4 was a series of 12 programs dedicated to the theology of dialogue, while the BRA 5 series brought together groups of bishops with their counterparts in the other religions for interreligious dialogue on the theme of harmony. Following on the recommendation of BRA 5, the FIRAs were established to train grassroots and pastoral workers. The last 20 years have seen the continuation of the BRA 6 series. The 1998 Synod of Bishops for Asia was the first time the Asian bishops were gathering as a collective outside of Asia, most specifically in Rome, to reflect on evangelization in Asia. This was truly a grace moment, as it provided the occasion for the Asian bishops to speak on behalf of Asia, especially to Vatican officials, some of whom have little understanding of the experience of Christians in Asia. In commenting on this momentous occasion, Father Peter Fan says that with surprising boldness and candor, humbly but forcefully, the Asian bishops affirmed that the churches in Asia not only learn from but also have something to teach the church in Rome, as well as the universal church, precisely from the experiences as churches not simply in but of Asia. Thus, if the 1970 Asian Bishops' Meeting marked the birth of the Asian Church, the Asian Synod can be regarded as the coming of age of the Asian Church. Let us now look at how the bishops responded to the Synod's Instrumentum Laboris and Lineamenta. With regard to how we appreciate other religions, the bishops of Vietnam reminded the Synod that from time immemorial, 3 great religions, Buddhism, Confucianism, Taoism, had flourished in their land together with many popular beliefs deeply rooted in the soul of the Vietnamese people. The Indian bishops added, in a country and a continent of many living religions, to be religious itself means to be interreligious. That is to live amicably in dialogue. The Thai bishops suggested that the Asian bishops are satisfied with their own religion and feel that they are able to lead their personal and social life in a proper and peaceful way. Evangelization must recognize the traditions of other religions as friends or even relatives living together. On the theme of learning, the Taiwanese bishops advised that the Catholic Church can also learn from other religions, their hospitality, openness, and mild and humble attitudes in dialogue. Meantime, the Episcopal Conference of Malaysia, Singapore, and Brunei added that the Church can, like the Asian religions, learn to be more open, receptive, sensitive, tolerant, and forgiving in the midst of plurality of religions. The Korean bishops said, we have to study, re-evaluate the meaning and role of the great traditional religions in Asia. They too play a part in the salvific economy of God. From the floor of the Vatican Aula, Archbishop Leo Ikenaga compared the 16th century arrival of Christianity to Japan with the introduction of Buddhism in the 6th century. Half a century was what it took for the Japanese to accept Buddhism as the religion of their land. With Christianity, it was another story. Buddhism fitted in easily, Christianity did not. Why? Bishop Mansap added, could it be said that this is the good news that the Buddhists can offer us? In our work, we try to be witnesses to Christ, but we also realize that our Buddhist friends are evangelizing us by their values. In another more recent forum, Cardinal Tagle pointed out that the major organized religions in Asia have articulated concepts and practices about salvation or the good and meaningful life that we are looking for. Now, even if the Asian church insists that dialogue is the new way of being church, it has not been an easy vision to follow. Plenty of challenges abound. From within, Archbishop Felix Machado once mentioned that interreligious dialogue is not perhaps the easiest or sometimes even happy part of our pastoral commitment. It demands patience and has to be seen in the light of the mystery of the cross. Archbishop Angelo Fernandez bluntly points out that among Christians themselves, there are some with fundamentalist attitudes who refuse to accept the Church's new and positive understanding of non-Christian religions and the place in God's universal plan of salvation. Someone has summed up the position in 2 words, arrogance and ignorance. Suffice to say, committing the Church to dialogue is no mean feat. As I mentioned at the beginning, a lot of what I talked about is what I have been writing about. Please indulge me as I share some of these works with you, much of which focuses on FABC theologies. Let me close by referring to the opening address where Cardinal Osvaldo Gracias mentioned that bishops in South America often refer to Puebla, Medellin, and Aparecida, wishing that the same can be said about Asian bishops. Well, from my own experience and research, I must say that quite a number of scholars and church leaders from North America, Europe, and Australia often refer to the FABC, wishing they could do the same about statements from their own Episcopal Conference. To be sure, FABC's vision of a church of dialogue has not only inspired, but is the envy of many from other continents. We can surely rejoice in this as we celebrate 50 years of FABC's existence. I thank you for your kind attention. God bless you all and the Asian Church.
Thank you, Dr. Edmund, someone who has journeyed with FABC for many years. Thank you, Doctor, for reminding us of so many names for the last 50 years who have been there before us and who have shown the way for us to move forward. So thank you very much, Doctor. So shall we just spend 2 minutes praying with Dr. Edmund Chia? in thanksgiving for all the names that were mentioned by Dr. Edmund Chia. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit,